Welcome to another deep dive, everybody. Today, we're going to be tackling, I guess you could say it's an age-old question, village versus city life. So we're using this language learning tool as a springboard for our discussion.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really fascinating to kind of see how this tool frames this, classic cultural comparison,
right?
Village versus city. It gives us this really structured approach, almost like a prepackaged debate, which I think is really cool to help us unpack the nuances of each lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we'll be looking at the specific arguments that are presented in the video, but I think we can definitely go beyond that too, explore a little bit of the psychology behind these choices, and, connect it back to our own experiences and preferences. Sound good?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so let's jump right in. The video itself features a conversation between two people, and they're, discussing their preferences, and they break down their reasoning using a classic pros and cons list for each lifestyle. So that's going to be a great starting point for us.
Yeah, super classic way to approach it.
Totally. So they start with village life, right?
Right.
What stood out to you about their pros list? I mean, besides the obvious, peace and quiet, of course.
Well, I think what struck me was their emphasis on community. It wasn't just about, friendly neighbors, but this real sense of interdependence and support that exists in a village environment. The video really paints this picture of a place where people rely on each other, share resources, and celebrate milestones together.
Yeah, it's like this very tight-knit group of people all working together. That makes me think about, different personality types, too, because some people might thrive in that kind of environment, and others might find it a little bit stifling. You know what I mean? So I want everybody listening to think about living in a village where everyone knows your name. Does that thought comfort you? Or does it feel a little overwhelming?
Right. It's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
And the video does mention some potential downsides of that close-knit community structure. They point out that villages often lack advanced facilities and specialized services that a lot of city dwellers take for granted.
Right. Like if you need a very specific type of doctor, you might have to travel pretty far.
Exactly.
So it is a trade-off,
Yeah.
You gain that sense of belonging and security, but, at the expense of maybe some convenience and opportunity. So I'm curious, how did the video present the city side of the equation?
Well, they really focused on the abundance of opportunities, particularly in education, employment, and entertainment. They argue that cities are these hubs of innovation and creativity, attracting people from all sorts of diverse backgrounds who bring their unique skills and perspectives.
That's interesting because it makes me wonder if the video is romanticizing city life just a little bit, because, they do acknowledge the downsides, right? Like crowds and pollution.
Yeah.
But is there more to this story than that?
I think that's a valid point. They definitely present cities as dynamic and exciting, but they don't really delve into, the potential downsides of that fast-paced competitive environment. Think about, the pressures of city living, the constant hustle, the feeling of always needing to be on.
Yeah, you're always going. You always got to be doing something. You always got to be moving forward, which, can be exciting for some people, but for others, it can be exhausting.
Absolutely.
And this brings us to, I think, a question that runs through, the entire video, which is individual choice. They emphasize repeatedly that there's no right or wrong answer. It all comes down to, your personal preferences and priorities. What resonated with you most about that?
I think what stood out to me was their suggestion that experiencing both village and city life can broaden your perspective. Yeah. It's not about, choosing one over the other, but rather about understanding the unique qualities of each.
Right.
And how they might appeal to different people at different stages in their lives.
Yeah, I love that, because we tend to think of these as binary choices,
right?
Like village or city. But in reality, it's more of a spectrum. There's so many variations within each category, and our own preferences can evolve over time too. I just thinking, imagine a young person who craves the excitement and opportunity of a city, but then later in life yearns for the peace and familiarity of a smaller community. It can change.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us to another interesting aspect that the video touches on, the difference in relationships and support systems.
Yeah. Okay.
The contrast, the close-knit family and community ties often found in villages with, the more independent and self-reliant nature of city living.
Okay, so it begs the question, is one approach inherently better, or are they simply different ways of experiencing human connection? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a false dichotomy to say that one is better. It's more about understanding the trade-offs, in a village. You might have that built-in support system, but perhaps less freedom to choose your own path. in a city.
Yeah.
You might have more autonomy, but you also have to work harder to build your own network of support.
That's such a good point, because it's something we often overlook when we're romanticizing either lifestyle.
Right.
It's not just about the
physical location.
It's about the social structures and expectations that come with each.
Exactly. And the video also touches on this, albeit briefly. When they talk about cities offering greater exposure to diversity, they suggest that simply being around people from different backgrounds can challenge your assumptions and broaden your worldview.
Okay, but how exactly does that happen? I mean, is it just about proximity? Or are there specific qualities of city life that foster this kind of cross-cultural exchange?
I think it's probably a combination of factors. Cities by their very nature attract people from all walks of life, which creates this melting pot of ideas and perspectives. And because city dwellers are constantly interacting with people outside their immediate circle, they're just more likely to encounter those differing viewpoints.
Right. You're just exposed to more different types of people, which I guess forces you to think about things in different ways. That makes you think about the role of anonymity in cities. You can be whoever you want to be, free from the expectations and judgments of a small community. Do you think that freedom allows for more genuine cross-cultural interaction?
That's a fascinating question, and one that the video doesn't really address. It presents diversity as this positive aspect of city life, but it doesn't really explore the complexities of how those interactions actually play out. Think about the potential for conflict and misunderstanding, but also the opportunities for growth and learning.
Right. It's complex. It's not all positive. It's not all negative. Okay, so I think we've unpacked the video's main points, right? The pros and cons of each lifestyle, the importance of individual choice, and, those different approaches to community and relationships. But I think we've also started to see some limitations of this, a kind of simplified presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the video provides a really great framework for understanding the basic arguments, but it doesn't really delve into the nuances of how these choices actually play out in the real world.
Right. And that's where our deep dive really begins,
Yeah.
We've taken your source material, this English language learning video, and we're using it as a launch pad for a much deeper exploration. Now we're going to move beyond, those bullet points and delve into the psychology, sociology, even the philosophy of village versus city life.
I'm excited.
Me too.
So, in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore some listener feedback that brings in even more diverse perspectives. We're going to look at how cultural and geographic context can influence these choices, and how technology is blurring the lines between village and city life.
It's going to be a good one, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're continuing our exploration of village versus city life. And as promised, we're bringing in some insightful perspectives from our listeners.
Yes, I'm always so impressed by the depth and the diversity of thought that our listeners bring to these deep dives. It really expands the conversation in ways that we couldn't even anticipate.
Absolutely. And one of the key themes that emerged from the listener feedback was this idea of the importance of cultural context. The video that we started with presented a very specific perspective, which may not resonate with everyone's experience.
Right, because we can't assume that the pros and cons of village versus city life are universally applicable.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I'm curious, can you give us some examples of how those dynamics might shift depending on the cultural landscape?
Yeah, totally. Well, think about the concept of community support, which the video highlighted as a key feature of village life.
Yeah.
Many collectivist cultures, particularly in parts of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Family and community ties are even more deeply ingrained than what's typically seen in Western societies.
So in those contexts, the line between
individual
and community could be even more blurred with a stronger emphasis on interdependence and mutual support.
Exactly. And this sense of collective responsibility could extend beyond, just immediate family to encompass extended relatives, neighbors, and even the entire village as a whole. Imagine a place where decisions are made communally, resources are shared freely, and individual success is seen as a reflection of the group's well-being.
It's a beautiful concept, but it also raises questions about, individual autonomy. Does this level of interconnectedness come at the expense of personal freedom?
That's a really crucial question, and one that many of our listeners, particularly those living in, rapidly developing countries, are grappling with. They're witnessing firsthand how globalization and urbanization or impacting their traditional communities, bringing both opportunities and challenges.
Right. It's like this double-edged sword.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you have the influx of technology, new ideas, economic opportunities that can uplift entire villages. But on the other hand, there's a risk of disrupting,
Yeah.
long-held traditions and social structure.
Exactly. Imagine a village that's suddenly connected to the internet, opening up a world of information and possibilities.
Wow. It can be incredibly empowering. But it can also create this sense of disconnect from older generations and traditional ways of life.
Right. So it's like this classic tension between progress and preservation. How do you embrace the benefits of modernization without losing the essence of what makes a community unique?
It's such a delicate balance, and there's no one-size-fits-all answer. But what I find so fascinating is how many of our listeners are actively engaged in finding that balance. They're using technology to preserve their language and cultural heritage, creating online spaces to connect with diaspora communities, and finding ways to integrate new ideas without erasing your history.
I love that. It's like this reminder that culture isn't static. It's constantly evolving, adapting to new influences, while holding on to those core values that define a community.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another interesting point that was raised by our listeners, the idea that the very definitions of village and city are becoming increasingly fluid in our globalized world.
Okay, so we've been talking about these concepts as if they're these fixed categories, but are they really? It's a great question, and I think one that the video oversimplifies. We're seeing the rise of these mega cities that dwarf even the largest traditional cities, sprawling suburbs that blur the lines between urban and rural, and even remote villages that are becoming increasingly integrated with urban centers through technology and infrastructure.
So it's not just about physical location anymore. It's about this convergence of lifestyles and influences. It makes you wonder, what does it even mean to be a villager in a world where you can access the internet, order goods online, connect with people across the globe from your rural home?
Right. It really challenges our traditional understanding of these concepts. And on the flip side, what does it mean to be a city dweller? When you're surrounded by millions of people, yet you still crave that sense of community and belonging that's often associated with village life.
Yeah, look, it's almost like we're searching for a new vocabulary to describe these evolving ways of life. Maybe it's less about village versus city and more about finding the right balance of connection, opportunity, and personal fulfillment, regardless of our physical location.
Yeah, I think you're really onto something there. It's not about picking sides. It's about recognizing the spectrum of human experience and finding that place where you feel most grounded, most connected, most yourself.
I love that. And that brings us to another fascinating thread that emerged from the listener feedback, the impact of technology on rural communities.
Ooh, yeah. Technology is such a powerful force, and its impact on rural communities is complex and multifaceted.
For sure. And a lot of our listeners expressed excitement about the potential for technology to bridge the gap between rural and urban areas, providing access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities that were previously out of reach.
Absolutely. Think about the transformative power of telemedicine, which allows people in remote villages to consult with specialists without having to travel long distances, or online learning platforms that bring educational resources to students who might not have access to traditional schools.
Right. It's really incredible how technology can empower individuals and communities in that way. But of course, there are also concerns about the potential downsides.
Right. Some listeners worry about the erosion of traditional cultures and values as outside influences flood in. Through the internet and social media, it can create a generational divide as younger people adopt new ideas and ways of life that clash with the beliefs of their elders.
So it's that age-old tension, again, between tradition and modernity, playing out in a new arena. How do you balance the desire to preserve cultural heritage with the inevitability of change in a globalized world?
It's a challenge for sure, and there's no easy answer. But I think the key is to approach technology with intentionality. How can we use it as a tool to empower communities, to connect people, to preserve heritage, rather than letting it become a force that divides and homogenizes?
Right. It's not about rejecting technology. It's about using it mindfully, shaping it to serve our needs, rather than letting it dictate our lives.
Exactly. And this brings us to another crucial aspect of this conversation, one that's relevant, whether you live in a village or a city, the challenge of cultivating community. In a world that often feels increasingly isolating.
And this is something that resonated deeply with our listeners, many of them, regardless of where they live. expressed a similar longing for connection, for that sense of belonging. That's so essential to human well-being.
Right. It's like this universal human need to feel like we're part of something larger than ourselves.
Yeah.
To have a network of support, to share experiences and create memories together.
Yeah. But how do we cultivate that sense of community in a world where people are constantly on the move, where technology often isolates us as it connects us, and where the traditional structures that once fostered community have broken down?
That is the question that we will be exploring. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll delve into the various ways people are finding and creating community, both online and offline, in urban and rural settings, highlighting the importance of intentionality and shared values in fostering genuine connection.
I'm excited for that, so stay tuned for part 3. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We are in the final part of our exploration, and I'm really excited about this. We're diving into a challenge that kind of goes beyond that whole village versus city debate. How do we create a sense of community in a world that often feels like, increasingly isolating?
It's a big one, right? And it's a question that's been woven throughout our entire conversation today.
Yeah.
We've talked about those close-knit communities often found in villages.
Yeah.
We've also talked about that potential for isolation in cities. And we've heard from so many listeners who are grappling with these same questions in their own lives.
Right, exactly. A lot of them express this real longing for connection, that sense of belonging that we just crave, right? It's human nature.
Absolutely.
But in a world that's constantly changing, like ours, how do we find those spaces or even create them, the spaces where we feel truly grounded and supported?
Yeah, and I think what was so striking to me about all the listener feedback was the emphasis on intentionality.
Ooh, I like that word.
Community isn't something that just happens to us anymore. It's something that we have to actively cultivate.
We got to put in the work, right?
Exactly.
So what are some of the ways that listeners are intentionally creating these communities?
Well, a lot of them talked about seeking out shared interests and passions.
Okay.
So they're finding their tribe,
Yeah.
through book clubs, hiking groups, online gaming communities, volunteering, anything that brings them together with like-minded people.
So it's less about proximity, right? Just being near somebody, and more about, finding your people, the people who really get you.
Yeah. Those who share your passions. And, they might be scattered across the globe. Doesn't have to be in the same town.
Exactly.
And I think technology plays a huge role in this too. Online forums, social media groups, even virtual reality platforms, right? They're creating new ways for people to connect.
Yeah.
Based on those shared interests, regardless of their physical location.
Right. It's we're building these digital villages, these online spaces where people can gather, share their passions, support each other.
I love that, yeah. It's a digital village.
And then, for others, creating community is about making that conscious effort to connect with their immediate surroundings. Think about those city dwellers who are creating micro communities within their neighborhoods. They're joining community gardens, attending local events, supporting small businesses, really weaving themselves into the fabric of their local environment.
Yeah. And all those small acts of engagement, right? They can have this ripple effect, creating a sense of shared ownership and responsibility. That just strengthens those bonds between neighbors.
And it just makes the neighborhood better for everyone, right? Which
Yeah.
I think reminds me of something you mentioned earlier, the idea that this sense of community can arise from a shared purpose.
Yes.
When people work together towards a common goal, whether it's planting a garden, organizing a neighborhood watch, advocating for a local cause, whatever it is, they create that sense of solidarity and purpose. It transcends their individual differences.
Right. It's bigger than any one person.
Exactly.
And that brings us to another really crucial aspect of community building, which is inclusivity.
Yeah. So important.
And a lot of listeners stress the importance of, creating welcoming spaces that embrace diversity and celebrate difference.
Right. And, it's not enough to just gather people together. We have to be really intentional about creating that culture of belonging where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued.
Right. Because true community is about recognizing and appreciating our shared humanity.
Right.
Even as we celebrate all those unique perspectives and experiences that each individual brings to the table.
And, that means being mindful
Yeah.
of potential barriers to inclusion, too, whether they're based on race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, any factor that can lead to marginalization.
Right. We have to think about those things.
Yeah, we really do. It's about
creating spaces where everyone feels safe to be themselves, to share their stories, to challenge and support each other.
And that's a journey, you know? It's an ongoing process, this work of building inclusive community.
For sure.
It requires open communication, active listening, and a willingness to, like, challenge our own biases and assumptions.
Right. And I think that's a really powerful message to take away from this whole deep dive, whether we're talking about, village versus city life, or the broader question of how to create community in a changing world. It all comes down to intentionality, shared values, and a commitment to inclusivity.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So we've explored so many facets of this topic, from the psychological motivations behind our choices to the sociological impacts of urbanization and globalization. But ultimately, it's about recognizing that human need for connection and finding ways to nurture that need, both individually and collectively.
Yeah, beautifully said. And, that's something each of us has the power to do.
Right.
Whether it's reaching out to a neighbor, joining a local organization, or simply making an effort to be more present, more engaged in our interactions with others, we can all contribute to creating a more connected and compassionate world.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, we leave you with this challenge. Be intentional about creating community in your own life. Seek out those spaces where you feel that sense of belonging and, be a force for inclusivity. Welcome and celebrate the diversity. That makes life so rich and interesting.
Yes, I love it.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive, everybody. We hope it sparked some new thoughts and inspired you to go out there and create more meaningful connections in your own world.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, happy deep diving.